One question I want to ask you though is you brought up, getting papered up, getting certified, getting some piece of paper that say that you're smart, that you know what you're doing. What kind of led you to, or how did you hear about me, and how did you hear about the program? Because I guess you kind of, I don't know if you, or you can kind of go a little bit deeper into that story. Did you keep on running into roadblocks? Did you kind of say, okay, I can't get this job, I can't get that job, or to keep on saying you need pieces of paper? Like what, how did that look? How did that pan out?
Well, I had spent, it's embarrassing. I had spent probably 5-6 years looking for a regular job. And because I was living in LA, it was so saturated, it was hard to get one, especially since, I've got Tourette's. So, phone jobs weren't the best. My tics are, right now I'm in a slow part of my tics. But there's no saying when or if they'll get worse again. So I really didn't want to do a phone heavy job, and in-person customer service isn't always the best for me, because when that starts happening, people's assumptions start playing in, and then I start getting anxiety problems, but then they start thinking I have like a drug problem because of some of my tics, and then they start treating me like a pariah. I'm like, sorry, I forgot the question. What was the question again?
I was asking you, because I actually want to ask you something about that too. So I was asking you, since you finally came to the, the roadblock, or had the epiphany, like, okay, I need some pieces of paper. What kind of how did you find me? How did you figure out, learn about the program? How did that happen?
Oh, okay. So I just knew that I needed papers because I had already known some stories from some friends, and because I have friends who got into art, and I have some that didn't. They went into IT instead because they are a lot more linked than people tend to think they are. So I ended up hearing stories about it and how, they were able to do the thing. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get papered because nobody's hiring me because I was my own business owner. That's not valued, unfortunately, as a thing you put on your resume. Because then they're like, well, why weren't you successful? And it's like, do you know how the economy works? Most people aren't you're being a business owner. Most businesses fail within 5 years.
Yep.
So and that was before the pandemic. And so that wasn't really a valued thing. I didn't have a lot of work experience on most things that other people would value. Because I can say, I'm good at this all day long. I have the skills to do this. I'm very personable, all of these things, right? They ain't going to believe you unless somebody has signed a W-2 for you to do it. So, sorry, there is a bug in here. So, that's part of why I needed to paper up to show that I did have that knowledge. It's just more proof. Because I did learn, I had a lot of the knowledge by experience when it comes to this, but I didn't know the lingo, because jargon, lingo, and the acronyms and stuff, and more in depth how the thing works is what'll get you in. Like, I know somebody who is in a similar position to me who didn't know what a USB port was. And so I'm actually teaching her things now. Yeah. Well, part of my job is teaching. So, but she's doing great. But that's kind of why I had a head start in the job, because the job I'm in, I'm actually overqualified for. Gotcha. So my training period ended up being a lot less because I was able to learn so fast, because I kind of already knew some of it. So now my hurdle now is learning HTML and CSS. So I'm teaching myself and I'm learning on the job, but I found it because I needed to find how to get the certs. Really, it's like I wasn't really sure what the process was going to be so good, other than I needed the certs and I knew the name of the certs I needed. And then I found yours because it promised to not, because previously I had been in the Google, what was that program? There was this Google thing on one of these, you pay for lessons things. Okay. And sorry, I forgot what the program was.
Okay.
But it decided to just like, it was just talking about how great Google was, most of it, and the history of all the stuff. And I'm like, okay, look, I know the history, like this is cool information, right? But it is extra. Okay, right. I don't need to know the history of computers in order to fix one or to run one right now, because the stuff from 1968, as cool as it is not super relevant to Windows 11 or whatever, current, like it's not relevant to an iPhone that much. Right. So I got out of that and I came to this one because it was actually more use based. Mm-hmm. Because that's honestly what we were going to use. Like I am interested in the other stuff, not going to help me on my cert, not good. Like someone being like, oh, my network is broken, being like, oh, well, do you want to know how networks were made?
Did you know? Like, I don't care.
Yeah. Like, did you know it was like two computers linked up together? And one of the first things said was like, hello or whatever. And then that was, and it was in a college, like, did you want to know that we funded the creating of the internet? That doesn't help the person who's like, my internet isn't working and my websites aren't loading because my internet isn't working.
Now to piggyback on that, Google, has some awesome certifications. AWS has some awesome certifications. But like you said, one of the main reasons I made this program is because of that. Like literally the reason that, I want you to get into this program is literally to get certified. It's not to... All that stuff is, I don't know why they do that. Who did this? Who did that? If it's not going to be on the exam, then it's kind of like, if you want to learn the history, if you want to learn the backstory and all that type of stuff, you got Google, you got YouTube, you can do that other places. And I think that, especially for maybe somebody that's not, as tech savvy as you, that's definitely the information that you need is a lot. So now you're going to also put a bunch of stuff I don't need as well to confuse me and stuff like that. It's just not, it's not conducive to learning, right? Right. Because your brain is going to cut off after a while anyway, after all this stuff. Okay. And then the messed up thing about learning is for some reason you'll retain that's the stupid stuff you'll retain it. Oh, I know the computer, all the stupid stuff you'll know the history of it. But then when it comes to, okay, but how do you fix, this printer? Or how do you get this network back up? It's just like, damn, what did he say? Or how did it go? And it's just, it's just no bueno. It's no good. Yeah. But one thing I did want to talk about before we move along is because one of the questions I wanted to ask you was, some obstacles that you may have ran across, blah, 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 blah. But you brought up that that you have Tourette's, right? Mm-hmm. And I was just wondering if you had any tips, any advice for people, maybe that, people that may, because I actually have another student that has Tourette's as well. But if you had any advice for either people that may have Tourette's or if they have maybe even just a stuttering issue, or maybe just scared to talk in front of people. Like, how do you manage that? What does that look like? Has it gotten better over time? How does that actually work? Because basically, a lot of people, you have something that you can't control. And a lot of people have, issues in their life that they can control and they don't do anything. So like, what advice would you have for people that have any kind of issues? Like I said, whether if it's Tourette's, whether it's a stuttering problem or just scared to talk in front of people, or just scared to do anything. How did you get, past that obstacle?
Well, I will say that I'm also I also have ADHD. So those end up interacting with each other frequently. So my advice is coming from that, where I've also have ADHD and Tourette's. Most people have Tourette's and whatever. So, cause I don't medicate for mine. Most people don't, some do. And since we are talking about my Tourette's, I also want to mention that, it's a spectrum. So you can have like an eye twitch where it's like, cool, you've got a weird eye twitch. And then you can be like me where 3/4 of my body, anyway, everything with my left leg will start looking like it's having a seizure sometimes. And then I lose my speech. I lose my, I'll be able to lose my speech. It stops me from breathing sometimes. It's not the greatest. So I do have a fairly not great series of tics. And I also have corpulalia, prolalia, and the other one, which means I copy others. I copy myself. And I also have the curse word tick, which is the one that is the worst problem when it comes to work.
Okay.
Because the DOJ doesn't actually have to defend you for it. So, yeah, that's a whole thing. It has something to do with the clause. It's like, you don't have to, or, you know, if accommodating you causes an undue burden upon your employer, then they don't have to hire you. Whatever. Anyway, so that kicks me out of being able to work with kids. It kicks me out of probably not. Well, it might. I just avoided it because I've had enough reactions in a grocery store where people are like, "How dare you curse in front of my child?" And I thought
really quickly. Is there like a, you know, you have to forgive my ignorance, but is there like a precursor? Like, do you know? You understand? Do you understand what I'm asking? Like, do you
Not
know?
always.
Like, it might be okay.
Not always. Sometimes, yes. The more stressed I get, the more likely it's going to happen and happen bad. I can focus real hard and make it kind of go away sometimes, but it comes back in force later. Like there's
come back with interest.
Yeah. What an analogy a lot of people use for it is like, it's like having to sneeze.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Okay.
or having to pee. Like, it's going to happen, but you don't know when, you don't know how. Always. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Who knows? I am reliable until I'm not when it comes to that. And so I thought I also wasn't able to do phone jobs. Luckily, the job I have right now, because I'm currently in help desk sort of stuff. Like, I'm like help desk, QA, customer service. Like, my company is small, therefore I do a lot of hats. But most of it is not phone. Some of it is video, but I can edit. If I tick, I can edit out of that. And then it's like doing kind of like this, where I teach people how to use their websites. And then
Cheyenne, just really quickly, that is absolutely awesome. A lot of people kind of shy away from help desk or whatever, but it's a really good place to learn a little bit of everything. Just a little bit of, okay, this is how this works, this is how this works. And then it kind of gives you kind of a spectrum of, okay, this is what I like, and this is what exactly what I don't want to be doing. Whatever. There's certain stuff that you're gonna see like, hell no, I don't care how much they pay, I don't want to do that. And then there's other stuff that you can do. And I'm really glad and proud of you that you found a little lane to get into that can support, you make some money, and it actually fits in, with the Tourette's thing.